a lot about trains and stuff like that. So to keep their attention is not great. But anyways.
All right. Well, we're live, guys. I just put us on. So
awesome.
Keep the conversation going. It's okay. Jesse was just talking about being a chaperone at his children's event. So that's always fun. But we're all going to be in Vegas soon.
Yeah.
Next week.
Right. Week.
Yeah, next week. Matter of fact, we all go. So that's pretty exciting. And Jeff and I, we are lucky enough to go to see Dead and Company at the Sphere while we're there.
That's right.
So,
we'll go check out the concert.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. All right. Well, happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the Dog Gurus Live. If you can see and hear us, please write in the chat hello and give yourself a plug today. List your business name and where you're located. And since we're getting familiar with the chat feature, I will also encourage you throughout our conversation to feel free to send questions there. We have experts today in custom pet care design and construction industry, so take advantage of that, okay? And before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me go ahead and tell you about the Dog Gurus. So we help pet care businesses launch, grow, and profit. And we have resources to help you, that's right, you, thrive in every single stage of your business. And I'll just say one of our superpowers is empowering business operators to successfully increase their revenue and reduce their expenses. We also have the #1 pet care staff training system for canine body language and positive reinforcement dog management skills. All right, looks like we have some people saying hello. So Tina from Wags and Whiskers in Fort Mill, South Carolina. And we also have Mikey, of course. That's a longtime watcher, viewer, and listener. We love Mikey. And Dan as well from City Paws Club, Pet Club. All right.
He's also in Minnesota.
Yeah, thanks for joining. So I'm Shantae Marquez and joined with the wonderful Carrie Campbell, and we are both Profit Network coaches for the Dog Gurus. But as I was saying, today is extra special because Jeff and Jesse, our friends from TerWisscha Construction, or known as TWC, is joining us. And, you know, the Dog Gurus and TWC has had a long-standing relationship. And when I was discussing this relationship with our CEO, I gathered that there's been a lot of synergy between our two companies because the relationship, you know, it's built on trust and shared values. I mean, both of our organizations prioritize safety and long-term success for pet care entrepreneurs. And this mutual dedication has really been the foundation of our successful collaboration. Now, education is another key bond between us, and it's at the heart of what the Dog Gurus do. And together with TWC, we are able to provide a wealth of resources and support for entrepreneurs throughout their journey. We often refer our community members to TWC for their building needs. And because we know that they take a holistic approach to creating successful, safe, and functional pet care businesses. And in turn, TWC sends entrepreneurs our way for Launch Formula program. That way, it ensures those entrepreneurs have a solid business plan that will make their dreams into reality. Now, with that in mind, can you gentlemen share what TWC's expertise in the pet care industry looks like?
Jesse with the shades, you want to roll with that or you want me to take it, man?
No, I can go ahead and start. So again, my name is Jesse Halsher. I've been with TWC in business development for about 8 years. Thanks for having us on today. TWC has actually been in the animal care industry for the better part of the past 25 years. So we actually do design and construction coast to coast for veterinary clinics, hospitals, doggy daycare and boarding facilities all over the country. And so we've been there. We've seen what works, what doesn't work. We get feedback from our clients and very much like the industry, we continue to try and evolve as new concepts come up. So.
Yeah. So to feed off of that, again, thanks for having us on here. There's a lot of synergy going on within the industry, and we appreciate our partnership with Dog Gurus. And part of that is, you know, as a client's coming to, you know, potential clients coming to figure out, hey, I want to open up a boarding or daycare facility. Where do I start, right? So sometimes they're starting with us, and maybe they have little to no experience in the dog daycare and boarding side. So they need some educational training. So we'll go that way, or otherwise, sometimes they are already in the industry and now are looking for help when it comes to that and not sure where to start. So, that's where we will come in and actually help them with what we call our whole feasibility type process, which is many times the first thing, and then you've got the one more, which is the financial aspect of it. So it's always like, where do you start? And I don't know if there's really a starting point. There's probably three things that kind of go in a line that you're kind of picking away at all of them at the same time. So it's exciting, but can be frustrating at the same time, especially when people are asking you for questions that are asking questions that there's no way to get an answer for.
So, I know that aesthetics is really important when you're designing building, but so is functionality. So what are some tips you can provide for people when they're building their dream of building a pet care facility?
Dogs are destructive, right? So
yes, they are. People don't think about that. When I was building my pet care facility, I really was, I had a wonderful dog that was very well mannered. And I just assumed every dog was like my dog. And boy, did I find out that is not correct. So yes, dogs are destructive.
Yeah. To play off of that, we just had a facility down in Missouri area where they put in these beautiful luxury doors, and had these luxury suites and everything in there. And on the inside are just your typical round doorknobs that are up higher, right, for safety reasons. But I think within the first week, three of the 8 were mangled by dogs just grabbing a hold of that doorknob and just chewing it, right? So they're bored, right? They sit in there and they just pick away. So, our design is that, right? I mean, aesthetics is important, and not so much for the dogs, right, as it is for the pet parents. So we've got to be able to figure out how to blend that functionality with some aesthetics, as well as whether it's flooring with slip resistance, whether it's hard surfaces or soft surfaces with sound. There's so many different things that you have to take into account. I think a lot of times, Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's never the perfect solution for anything, right? You're going to give something up in order to achieve what you need.
That's accurate. I like to tell clients, in your industry, the clients who come through the door, they're going to end up puking, pooping, or peeing on something that you don't want them to, and you don't want evidence left behind, whether it be smells or looks or things like that. And unfortunately, some of the things that are aesthetically pleasing aren't as durable as what we would like to see them. So it is a delicate balance. We are seeing more and more, I'll say, durable solutions that do have, new designs and things like that. So it's come a long way since I started anyways. So, but I'd say maybe the perfect building would be stainless steel, ceiling to floor. We haven't designed or built one of those just yet, but that might be the best bet.
Yeah, really.
And second best is epoxy everywhere. So either way,
there you
go, right?
Right, exactly.
We're crushing dreams as we speak right now.
Yeah, right.
I had a dog chew holes in drywall. I mean, I was just like, what? How did this happen? And it was in a very short amount of time. I mean, maybe 20 minutes or something like that. But I was just like, oh boy, this is not good.
They find a little hole and then they just keep picking at it, right? They just
So I talk to a lot of startups on a weekly basis that come and book strategy calls with us, and they want to gather information on just where to start with everything. And one of the questions that I always get is, how big of a space do I need? And that's a big question, because I think there's a lot of determining factors. So how do you guys deal with that? Because I'm sure you get that question too.
Well, in Texas, bigger is better, right? So we kind of start there and go. It's driven, and Jesse, I'm sure you're going to trump me here, but it's driven by many things. The financial aspects of it, safety side of it, and really what they're trying to achieve there. Is it more daycare and less boarding, and designing to that safety and functionality, or are you more training? So there's a lot of factors that go into figuring that piece out. Efficiencies and workflow accommodate larger size a lot of time, but it's also getting in, and that's where I said it's this back and forth of what their business model looks like, to be able to understand how big to build that. So part of our process at TWC is we actually start with a questionnaire, which is a living document. It's we're always adding and changing and tweaking, but it's trying to understand what their ultimate vision is, and then building to that, or designing to that, and then trying to run that through some budgetary estimates and guesstimates to come up with this price per square foot, we'll call it, or total project price, and then making sure that, okay, based on this, and you have these many dogs in there, this cash flows, or maybe it doesn't cash flow, right? And if it doesn't cash flow, then maybe we got to figure out, do we need to add some more boarding, or do we got to shrink the overall scale of it, right? So we are continually going back to the drawing board to make sure that the project ultimately succeeds.
I love that.
Yep. Jesse, what'd I miss?
No, I think you did great. Like Jeff mentioned, there's a number of different variables. So unfortunately, there's no easy formula that one dog equals X amount of square feet that you should have for the building. Now, budget's going to drive a lot of factors, and I think to a degree, based on your finish levels, you can either add or shave on your budget. But ultimately, we're going to have to design to the budget. And then, as Jeff mentioned, during our feasibility step, the tough part is if you're just starting out and you talk to a lender, they're going to want to know, well, how much money do you need for this project? And unfortunately, until you have some information on paper, we don't know how much money you need for this project, because your project is going to involve some equipment, some soft costs and things like that outside of even the design and construction. So our first step starts with a questionnaire, as Jeff mentioned. We created what we call a matrix, and basically it allots a certain amount of square feet per space in the overall build. And that kind of hones in on a general idea or size that we need. And then until we start laying things out, and based on what other, services and things like that you're going to offer within the space, really determines the size of it. So we're not only designing to what you want to see in ultimately the ideal space size, but also can this make the budget work that is outlined with the bank and stuff. So usually it's a little bit of give and take back and forth to really hone that in. So I know that's not a great formula to just talk to somebody in 2 minutes and give it to them, but there is some science behind it, I guess. So.
Well, but it's a realistic answer. I mean, truly, because there's no cookie cutter perfect way to do everything. It's very unique, and it really depends back on that budget and your numbers.
Correct.
Did Shantae just freeze on us?
Yep. I thought I did for a second.
It's always that moment. It's like, wait, who stopped?
Yeah, exactly.
That's very true. Well, while we're seeing if she comes back to life, there was somebody who asked about help finding land. When you have folks that come to you, are there any recommendations that you have as far as like reaching out to realtors or zoning, questions like that can help someone find the actual property to build on?
Yeah, we've got some partners in the industry that we would be willing to recommend that would help on like a broker or real estate side of things. We are design build, so we actually have architects in-house, and a lot of what they're doing on the front end in that feasibility step is looking into property if it is ground up construction. So you kind of hit the nail on the head there. What are the setbacks look like? What kind of zoning do we have on the property? Are there utilities or easements in place? Are there any unique requirements like in a design district or a planned unit development or something like that would shrink the size of the actual building that you can put on there? There's usually parking requirements. Obviously, we're looking for some sort of outdoor exercise area typically. And then ultimately, kind of lost my train of thought there. Sorry, but ultimately, what we want to do is try and determine the size of building that we can fit on that space to make sure it makes sense for you. And we can do a lot of that while you're maybe in your due diligence period of purchasing a piece of property. So I'll be clear, we're not bankers, we're not realtors, but we can definitely help look into a few what I'll call hurdles or red flag areas that we've seen in the past early on in the process to make sure you don't get stuck with a piece of property you can't utilize. So.
Sean said she lost signal, so I don't know if that means if she lost her internet altogether, but
Sure.
And that's a good point, Jesse. You know, a lot of times, it's when do you engage us? When does that thing, how does this whole process work? And I think there's no harm in engaging us very early on. I've seen veterinarians buy a piece of property where they really didn't engage anything, and then only to find out that they really can't build on it because it's got, it's in marsh or it's protected or it's this. And really they've got this piece of property that they can't do anything with. So not to say that we're going to save all of that, but we've seen quite a bit that can help alleviate or put you in potential risk of having a piece of property very early. And I think the other thing is use by right? That's probably the biggest thing that we're looking for. And not to say that if you don't have use by right to do your business, it just is a little bit of a slower step that you have to overcome to be able to operate your facility.
Okay. That's good to know. We had somebody else ask about material what you use for kennels and for flooring. And I know there's lots of options out there, but are there kind of standards that you go by in either the vendors that you use or the materials that you choose?
So I'll grab this beginning of this, Jesse. So my background is epoxy-based flooring. I've been installing it for about 24 years in the pet care space. So TWC is taking that as their standard. Welcome back, Shantae.
Sorry about that. I lost Wi-Fi. I had to get her on my phone.
Oh, you're hotspotting it, huh? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So
Sorry,
that's kind of our go-to, but I wouldn't say that's the end-all be-all. Again, many times it's budget-driven. It's this, do you need a harder surface epoxy-based in the front lobby, hallways, things like that. So that's where we start a lot of times, but then we'll figure it out from there. As far as kennels themselves, we are seeing more of a trend towards the modular type kennels. Requires less space, extremely durable products. There's a number of great vendors out there. You see them at the conventions and trade shows. As we go through our process, we'll always ask, do you have a preferred vendor in mind? And if they don't, then we'll show them the various options of the ones that are out there. Just like flooring, just like wall protection, they all have their great things and they all have their weak parts to it. So I think we've been around long enough to be able to show those different things and again, what works best for you. I think, but those are probably two of the biggest finishes decisions that you're going to have to make in your facility. Next would be like the wall protections and things like that. And then part of that decision is based on sound control too, right? So, we've got to look at all those factors to figure out what makes the most sense.
Jesse, did you have anything to add to that?
I've got a little phrase that I mentioned, and it's not glamorous, so bear with me. But we, over the 25 years so that we've been in the animal care industry, we've made the mistakes, so we know where to look. We've found the products that we like that seem to hold up over time through conversations with past clients and things like that. So we would always start out with like an ideal situation, but again, the budget does drive it. So we do have different finish levels that we can kind of insert to help if there are budget-driven issues or things like that.
So we had Sandy ask if you do renovations on existing facilities. But I'm going to couch that she happens to be in Canada. So I don't know if you guys work outside the US or if you have people that you refer Canadians to, but you do renovations on existing properties, right?
Yes. So we're primarily in the continental 48. We have actually participated in construction on a clinic, veterinary clinic in Alaska, and we have done some design, and I believe we've built out one in Canada. So that is a future direction for our company. We were actually kind of ramping up, and then 2020 happened, and so we had to pull the reins back a little bit there. But yes, to answer your question, we do tenant improvement spaces, which would be like a leasehold space, maybe in a strip mall, or where you would maybe share the building with another business, renovations of an existing building and additions, as well as ground up construction.
Fabulous. And then when you're looking at the overall facility, you also plan in that turf and fencing for outdoor space, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we would take into consideration the site as well. Even if that is a leasehold space, that does get a little bit unique. But we have had clients in the past that have gone into like a TI space or a rental property where there is some green space available. We can kind of participate in the conversations with the landlords, even though we typically don't drive those. We can kind of help, the clients on that end, or again, have industry professionals that we can, reference. So.
Great. All right, Shante, we have answered all the questions in the chat, so take it away.
Well, you guys are talking about turf and stuff, and I know that on your website, you guys have some beautiful pictures of existing buildings that you've put together. So should I go ahead and share some?
Oh, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Okay, let me give me a second. But let's, Jeff, can you talk about the Canine Clubhouse, Kenwood's Canine Clubhouse, and just give them a little background on that?
Yeah, so this is a project completed, I think, last 2 or 3 years. It's one of my, what's the best way to put it? I know this clinic inside and out because I actually installed a lot of the kennels, climbed under them for the plumbing. Actually installed that floor that you saw that looks like a soccer club. Spent a lot of time here. So this tenant improvement, I think this was like it's been a bunch of things prior to the owners purchasing it. As far as I think it was a storage place, it was a body shop. There was a lot of different things that occurred to it. So these are kennels that I think he's got over 120 of them in there, but they're all above ground. So these are actually the Mason or the mid-mark type kennels. But there's all the draining is in the kennel itself. So think of like a bathtub with the drain at the back, and then you're building these modular walls over top of it. And then they're all kind of PVC plumbed to a central drain. So there's no cross contamination going on with it. Between the kennels, very sturdy, very easy to clean out, but they are, they're raised. And one of the reasons for doing that, is a lot of times when you go into a tenant improvement space, somebody says, yeah, let's put in some drains. Well, okay, that's well and good, but unless you cut out the concrete and properly slope it to those drains, who knows if the water's flowing the right way for that. So that kind of eliminates some of that. And sometimes if it is just a tenant improvement and you're not actually buying that building, they might not want you to do that. So in 10 or 15 years, if your lease expires and you want to move on, you can actually take all those kennels with you. The floor was really cool. We wanted to do something different. And so this is in its daycare space. And this is what we call our soft paw flooring. And what we're doing there's actually a rubber mat underneath of that green that is glued down to the floor. And then we use a series of urethanes or coatings and pour it over top of it to make it completely seamless. And then once we finished with the entire process, then we came back and did the line stripings and the logos and things like that. But this is completely seamless floor to wall. It gives the dogs as well as the staff an easier, safer floor to stand on or run on and jump on and things like that. It's anti-fatiguing, we'll call it. But one of the things we found in this flooring was it actually helps with sound decibels too, because it's no longer a hard surface. So it was fun to do that project, to lay the logos out and do the little soccer field. And what a great, you walk in his lobby and that's one of the first things that you see. So I think it really contributes to his business.
Awesome.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Lobby is beautiful.
Yeah, it was really, really long but narrow facility, but that we were able to design it to get enough of the runs in there. And we stay in touch with all of our clients. He's crushing it. he's doing really, really well.
That's great.
Excellent.
Yep. And then the other one, maybe
Let me
Jesse,
find it.
I'm not sure if you were part of that, but Woofington, Jesse, were you part of that project much?
Woofington was actually done before my tenure here with TWC, but I do know a decent amount. So it's a small dog boarding daycare facility in the Twin Cities metro area, Orono, if I'm not mistaken, 25 pounds and under. And so they went a little upscale with the design intent here, more of like a vacation spa type feel, I guess, if you will. A lot of enrichment opportunities for the dogs here. But we've got individual runs, and I believe they're called canine cabins, where it's almost like a double-decker run, but for smaller dogs. And then we've got things like the presidential suite, which is a little bit larger of a room.
Is that what this is? This looks very high end.
That's one of the, I think, I want to say like junior suites. There is a presidential suite that's got like a, I want to say it's like a queen size bed in there. TVs. Very nice artwork throughout. You see the chandeliers and things like that. So every space is a little bit different and unique. Indoor play area there with a nice glass roll-up door. So if it's on your mind, then we can probably design and build it. So got some nice canine grass on the outside. So.
And this is
one's
how
fun.
close to Prince's house? Where Prince
there's the presidential suite right there. What was that, Jeff?
I said, how close is this to where Prince lived? Isn't he right around the corner?
Yeah. Prince is probably about a half-hour drive. His estate is about a half hour from here. So,
okay.
Yep.
That's great.
So, but this too is a tenant improvement space. So this is a leasehold space that the owners are renting. So it was an existing building that we renovated. So.
Somebody asked about the flooring that was in the Kenwood, that you painted to look like a soccer field. What was the name of that flooring?
So that is something that I actually helped create way back when in my mad scientist days. But it's called Soft Paw, is what we dubbed the name of it. So it's I will say I stole the idea a little bit from the indoor running track arena. So it's very similar to that. And there's different thicknesses of the mats. So, I mean, we've gone as far as like for large animal equine facilities. It's great for their surgery centers and things like that. Much thicker mat. If you're doing agility, there's a size mat that we'd recommend there. For most domestic dogs, there's going to be a thickness to where the deflection going much thicker isn't going to make much difference. So, typically we're going to see it between 1/4 and 1/2 inch thick. But you can tell a really big difference with something like that.
So is that I'm just thinking, because we had in my facility, we had the rolled rubber flooring 4 inches or 4 feet wide by, I think it came in like 50-foot rolls. And we actually did like 5/8 inch, I think was the thickness that we had. But we didn't have as thick of a sealant as what you had on top. So, but is that how it comes in large rolls?
Yeah, so it's very similar. It's a little bit different rubber than what you purchased, but same concept, same idea. Comes in wide rolls. We cut it to fit, and then we're gluing it down, and then we're coming over with it's actually 5 layers of coatings over top of that to make it completely non-porous. And life cycle on it is, we're hoping you get minimally 20 to 25 years before you need to do anything with it. So it's a permanent piece to it.
Yeah, that is great. Awesome.
Are we running out of time?
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun, right?
Right.
So,
well, you missed half of it, Shantae.
I know, huh?
Dropping in and
I'll
out.
get my way docked. No.
Really
all right, so I'll wrap this up.
I was just going to say really quick. So they're presenting next week in Vegas. So what is the session that you're doing next week?
Yep. So we present Tuesday afternoon, 4 to 6. So just before cocktail hour. And it is the preliminary planning process. So kind of what we talked about here, what you need to know to get your project off the ground, how to get started, right? So we're going to cover a lot of those pieces and give you all the answers in 2 short hours, right?
Yes, so you're going to Vegas. Yeah, let's say if you're going to Vegas for the Pet Boarding and Daycare Expo, be sure to catch that because that will be a
Yeah,
great
thank you.
presentation. Yeah, and then what else do you have coming up? Is there anything else?
So I think after that we got a little break till IBPSA. So if you're not members of the IBPSA, highly recommend International Boarding Pet Services Association. Great group of people, great networking going on there, and it's in wonderful Tucson, Arizona this year. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then I'm trying to think what else. Outside of that, we have our constant veterinary conferences. I think we've got about one a month all year long, don't we, Jesse? You
Yeah.
attend quite a bit. And it's not only general practice, but we also contribute to the specialty animal hospitals and ERs and things like that. So
Cool.
keeps us busy.
Yeah.
We have one other question that's squeezed in, which is totally fine. If you guys are okay to stay on and answer it. Okay,
Yep.
so Jen Marie has asked, how long does ground up design generally take? This is this question.
Oh, you, Jesse.
That's a great question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
There's a part 2 to that before we answer it. How far out does your company book breaking ground from design completion?
2 great questions. I'm going to be a little bit open on my answers because there's no hard timeline usually. There, again, just like determining the size of the building, there are a number of factors that go into it. In general, our feasibility step is about 90 days. That's really the building blocks for the entire project. Then we're going to need about 4 to 6 months, somewhere in there, where we bring on engineers and complete the entire construction document set. And then it's really constructing the building. The thing in that entire timeline that is a little bit up in the air, and depending on where you're at, whether it's a major metro area or maybe a rural area, is the permitting process. It seems like every time we go in for permit, it somehow gets longer and longer and more stuff that's needed. So that's a little bit tough to get a beat on, even if there is a preliminary window that's given, it can hit some roadblocks and delays here and there. So we typically say, in general, if you're going ground up construction, plan about 18 to 24 months. It can obviously go quicker, but there are a number of factors, like I mentioned. Do we have property locked in? Is it already zoned appropriately? Et cetera, et cetera. So, and kind of going into part 2 of the question, we have a number of clients who are working with us in any one of those 3 steps of our process. So we don't actually have like a waiting list where we have to finish one until we can get to you. We can start the feasibility and preliminary planning and then move it into the construction document piece, right away. So we're actively taking on new clients, and there's no, wait till we get to your turn, I guess, if you will. So
immediate seating, right?
Yeah. We've got a pretty good architecture squad. I think we got 4 licensed architects. And then I would say upwards of 8 job captains and drafters. So we've got quite a team there that can jump in on the design side right away. So
yeah, and I'll play off that a little bit, Jesse. I mean, it's and those in that first stage are everywhere. Some of them have secured a land or have a letter of intent out on a building or a leasehold or something like that. Others have signed up, and we're still looking for property. So it comes in all facets, and wherever we can help, we will certainly do that. And Jesse alluded to earlier, for as long as we've been doing this, we have a lot of contacts. So most likely we've got somebody in your area that we can point to you so they can help find whatever it is that you're looking for. And a lot of times that's the hardest piece, right? Is finding that property, that building, that land, whatever it is that you're looking for.
And if people want to continue asking you guys questions, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
So we've got to contact us on our website. Those emails will get sent to our sales team that we can follow up with you on. That'd probably be the easiest. If you got a pen and paper, Jeff can give his email address here real quick and his personal cell number too. And then you could always call any hour of the day. He'd be willing to help with any questions.
Yeah. So to Jesse's point, we are info@twcinc.com, or I am JADNEY at twcinc.com. And I am happy to give you my cell. It's 219 hot babe. I mean, 916 219-916-7229 is their number.
All right.
We
and
don't
maybe,
like to have a good time.
yeah, if Jeff, if you can put at least your website and the email address in the chat, then people can have it. And when they come and review the video, it'll be there for them as well.
All right, I will. If I can,
you can
get
do it
there.
later now.
What's
But
that?
I'll go ahead and wrap this up unless anybody
Thank you.
else has any comments that they want to leave with. There you go. All right, put it in the chat. All right. So again, these guys are great. They're some of the best in the industry to work with. So if you're thinking about doing a design build out, or maybe you want to renovate your existing, talk to these guys. These guys are the guys to go to. And as well, if you're a startup company that it needs help with developing your business plan, come talk to us, because we have launch formula program for you. That is really your A to Z in designing a solid business plan that will make you profitable, and make sure that you're going to be successful. And then the last thing I'll say is, if you haven't done so, please join our Grow Your Pet Care Facebook group. It's a really awesome place for you to network and just get advice, or just have some camaraderie where you're not alone. You're not the only person experiencing whatever you're going through at the time. So it's a great support group. But that is on Facebook, Grow Your Pet Care Business. Let me go ahead. I'll put it in the chat. We just have 2 rules, and that is be nice and no selling. So if you're not nice, we will kick you out. So we just want it to be a really supportive place. All right. But otherwise, that wraps it up for today. Jesse, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. It was a really fun time, and we'll see you in a couple days.
Yes. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
But we won't be on next week because we will both be in Las Vegas. So we will not see the rest of the Facebook land until the week after next. So
Good call out.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Take care, guys.
All right. Thank
thanks.
you.